What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Tell the Truth, episode 19. Super Bowl week is officially here. We are mere hours, not enough hours, but we are mere hours away from Super Bowl 58, in which the Kansas City Chiefs will be taking on the 49ers from San Francisco. I'm here, obviously, yours truly, D-Mac. We got DG, we got CJ in the building, man. We're ready to break this thing down from every single one of the matchup aspects. We'll give you an overall vibe check as well as we get into it, injury reports, and we'll give you some bets as well later on in the show as we get into our predictions as well. So, few days into Super Bowl week, media day is down. Let's do a little bit of vibe check, man. Where's your confidence level? How you guys feeling? Can the game please hurry up? Is where I'm at with it. CJ, what about you?
Hey man, we got what? Wednesday, we got 4 more sleeps to go. So we almost there, fellas. Going into the past three Super Bowls we've been in, the first one I was more so anxious just because that was our first time being there. The second one I was obviously nervous because of the injuries to Eric Fisher, Mitchell Schwartz, so the O-line concerns. Last year I was confident just because I know how much adversity we had went through to get to that moment and how being on that point and how more so confident when I saw Pat moving in pregame. He was moving comfortably, and I know if he was comfortable, we had a chance to win that game. So going to this game, I feel the same energy and confidence-wise as last year, mainly because we know last year coming into this season, we knew if we wanted to do something special, it would have to be something that we haven't done in a very long time. So we had those conversations all summer, us, Country, Chuck, Boog, that like also if we wanted to go back to back, it would have to be because of our defense. So given how fact our defense has played so well and so many guys in and out the lineup, the things we've said all year, being as dominant as they have, this is probably the most like calm, I think at peace I've been going to a Super Bowl just because I'm very confident into this matchup. Like me and DG said off air, there's literally nothing this defense hasn't seen as far as like an attacking standpoint. So Brock Purdy is a very good quarterback, but I'm very confident in this matchup just because I know we can get stops. And if you get 15 the ball back, it's going to be a long day for any team. So I'm very confident, very calm going into this Super Bowl for sure. I'm going to enjoy this one the most. Just soak it all in, like you said, it's the fourth one. So I'm the most just happy to be here, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely. DG, what about you, man?
I'm excited, man. I just love the opportunity right now that they have in front of them. You know, a chance to etch their name really in history. Like CJ said, the first one, man, I was I was a nervous wreck. The first one, just because that was the first time we had been there, and I didn't know what that stage was like. You don't them lights get brighter. And all the hustle and bustle that comes with it, the media day, and you just trying to handle it all. The second one came, and I was nervous just because the injuries sucked. I kind of had a feeling we might lose, but you still had that little bit of hope in the back of your mind that, like, as long as you got 15, you can make it work. And then this last one, man, I want it. I wanted it bad because of everything everybody had said about us losing Tyreek, and we wouldn't be back. We wouldn't be the same team, stuff like that. This year, the adversity, man, has changed my perspective on this one. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that this team didn't quit when they could have just packed it in and gave up. They stuck tough. Nah, I wasn't very confident this morning, but that's another story. Anyway, but they could have quit, they could have gave up, but they didn't. They stuck through it, and got to the right point in the season, started playing their best ball. And now, like I said, I think if we win this one, man, I didn't cry the last two. I'd probably cry for this one, just because everything we went through this year, just especially as as fans, as an organization, as a team, like this one would, especially because you didn't really expect this all the way throughout the season. There were times of doubt, times of just thinking that, man, can they really get to the finish line? And they're almost there, man. Now they got an opportunity to go across that finish line. So I'm excited, man. I'm confident. I believe in them. I believe in their ability and what they can do. I think they're playing their best ball, and hopefully they go out on Sunday and execute.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think for it to be, we have gone through this a little bit now here in recent memory. Obviously, we're this being our 4th in 5 years. I mean, it's a calmness. It's an understanding that, hey, I don't have to really worry about this team being concerned or being nervous as far as the big stage is concerned. I mean, you always wonder about how a team that hasn't been there is going to respond in these moments. I'm not worried about it. The coaching staff has been there too many times. Most of this team was here last year and won it. They have a Super Bowl routine at this point because they've been in this game enough. I know the main guys are completely locked in. I know they understand it's a business trip. So I'm completely confident in what this team is going to be able to do. And so from a vibe standpoint, my confidence is high, and I'm feeling good. So let's get into it. John Anderson asked, what injury are we most concerned about? We did just kind of get a look at the current practice reports, which we can take a quick look at as well. Nothing really of note for the 49ers. Trent was out due to rest. I mean, that's Trent getting a veteran rest day. Very normal things. Chiefs side, Joe Tooney did not participate at all. I don't expect that you're going to see him participate in practice. It's going to be a thing where it'd be very much a long shot to see him play. And I'm assuming that they're going to be, preparing as if Nick Allegretti is going to be in that left guard spot first and foremost, as they generally should be. That makes a whole lot of sense. Jared McKinnon was limited. Good to see that. Obviously has his groin. Both Sky Moore, who just got activated, as Charles Mann, who got placed on IR, did practice in full. And believe Kadarius Toney as well also practice in full. He's not listed there, but we'll assume that he is. We'll see what ends up happening as far as that's concerned. Another guy, Prince Trago Enogo, full practice. Good depth to have as far as the offensive line is concerned, obviously, with you already being down Joe Tooney. From that standpoint, it's really just a question mark about Joe Tooney. Ultimately speaking, we know not going to have Charles Omenihu, unfortunately. We'll see about the running back rotation. I think ultimately Sky Moore is going to be one of those guys, kind of like CEH last year, where he's activated, but he's activated from IR, but ultimately doesn't necessarily play in the game. It's going to probably be an inactive spot as far as game day is concerned. Still going to be watching as far as who's going to be elevated for that Charles Omenihu spot. Is it ends up being Felix Ndikuzama? Sounds like it's going to be. I certainly look forward to what it's going to end up being him to get some opportunities to rush the passer as well. So that's the injury report as it currently stands. I mean, the big thing is Joe Tooney. We'll end up seeing what happens, and Kadarius Toney, as a lesser extent, maybe he gets some special team snaps as well. So look, you saw that was a random Michael Jordan post happened to be under that tweet. And I think it's apropos here.
Twitter know the vibes.
Yes, so Twitter does know the vibes. So legacy. Not just a great hope lyric. An interesting thing as far as Super Bowls are concerned. Anytime that a Lombardi Trophy is on the line, there are multiple players, coaches, executives, characters in this story that have massive implications for what their legacy they can leave is. I won't lead any of you guys into it. I mean, I have a few guys that I'm certainly interested in talking about. As I kind of mentioned, as far as King Says podcast that I was on earlier in this week. Do you guys have somebody that stands out to you from a legacy standpoint? There's a bunch of different ways you can go to this, CJ. You can start us off.
Probably the main one, obviously, is just probably being Pat. I mean, most of us coming into the season, we had him in like that top 5 discussion. If he's able to finish the job and handle business on Sunday, I think he solidifies himself as the top 3 quarterback all time. I think as far as like obviously being in 4 Super Bowls, you get 3 done. Obviously, this early in his career, is still not even touched 30 yet. There's a lot more football to play, and we really haven't seen the best version of this offense since Tyreek Hill left, which we expect to be improvement with some offseason acquisitions and some draft prospects coming into this team next year into the training camp. So I think that's probably the biggest legacy talk. After that, obviously, Andy Reid's always been considered one of the best coaches of all time. I think after him, maybe we could start having discussions about some other players. There's Chris Jones. In my opinion, I think he was a Hall of Famer. I think this kind of solidifies that too as well. We can start having other conversations about other guys. Other guys in the team are pretty much young, so the only guys you really have their designation is Trav is one of the GOATs of all time. Like we said, Andy Reid's up there. I think really for like the main guys, like a Chris Jones, this may solidify his career. So maybe some other players maybe can jumpstart them in later on in their career. But yeah, for now, those are probably the biggest. When Steve Spagnuolo can go down as one of the best DCs of this era, especially doing it in back-to-back eras as far as like the 2000s with the Giants, then the 2010s here, and then obviously finish it off with the 20s as well. So he could definitely solidify his resume as well. But those are like the three big guys for sure. But I think who has the most to gain would probably be Chris Jones. I think the big three of like Andy, Pat, and Trav kind of solidified who they are. But I think Chris Jones can definitely gain the most from winning this game for sure, from a legacy standpoint.
What about you, DG?
Who can gain the most? I mean, I think CJ really covered it all. You know, the obvious guys, Pat, Trav, Andy, especially for our side of it. But I think also this is big for the younger players too. For guys who were here last year, the Trent McDuffies, the Jalen Watsons, those guys. I know they earned a ring, but I know they would like the opportunity to get another one, and that would put a good mark on your resume early on. You know, especially a guy like Trent. You already been an All-Pro this season. Now you go get another ring. Another guy I can think of is like Willie Gay. This will be his chance, especially hitting the open market next year. To go on the open market as a 2-time champion. That'll boost a lot of contract deals for you. You know, so all those guys that don't get talked about, you know, on that, especially on that side of the ball, Justin Reed. You know, I think they think about their legacy as well too, how they want to be remembered. The whole team in general, man. Like I said, this is one of those opportunities. Only 8 other teams have done this, man. Only 8 other teams have, you know, went back to back, and you can be the 9th one. You know, so I think that the whole team as a whole knows that this is huge for history's sake. Just as you can put your name in a very elite company of teams that will be remembered forever. You know, and I know once you win one Super Bowl, you're already remembered. But this puts you in legendary status. You know, so
Absolutely.
Yeah. And look, go ahead, CJ.
No, you good.
Oh, okay. The crazy thing about it is, look, when you're talking about these legacies, I mean, like you guys said, the big wins are easy. I mean, Mahomes can be the first player in NFL history within their first, 7 seasons to have 3 titles and 2 MVPs. Like, that's something that's only been done in the other 4 major sports, never been done in the NFL before. I think that this would firmly place him in the top 3 of quarterbacks all time and put him above Peyton Manning, and just leave him with Montana and Brady kind of as his company as well. Andy Reid, you're talking about from a coaching perspective, getting 3 titles. I mean, just to put on top of all of the wins that he already has, he's challenging as far as what his legacy is, to be one of the best coaches of all time. He certainly has it from an offensive standpoint. You talk about a guy like Brett Veach, who's done an outstanding job from a roster perspective. When you're the GM of a dynastic run, you have the ability to, stamp your place as possibly a guy that can go in the Hall of Fame one day. And it's a very high bar to clear for a lot of GMs, but dynasties are the way that you're able to do that. And for the guy, responsible for the player personnel of this team to have gone under the same transitions that he has, in such a short period of time and still maintain that level of excellence, you certainly would have a good argument from that perspective. You guys obviously mentioned Chris Jones has a major aspect of this, Travis Kelce certainly, but I think those smaller guys as well, those ones that aren't necessarily talked about. Nick Bolton last year, a guy that scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. If he is able to go, back to back as the Mike linebacker on this defense that now is playing at elite level and can have a good day defending what these, kind of multiple weapon looks are going to be from the 49ers. He had an opportunity at an interception last or 2 weeks ago now versus the Ravens. If he gets one on this stage, that's 2 turnovers and 2 Super Bowls that you both win. That's a legacy thing that you can stamp. A guy like George Karlaftis, a first-round pick, a guy that stepped up his game to get double-digit sacks this year from an edge position, starting edge on back-to-back Super Bowl championships. That does mean something. That's a great start to your career. So there are legacy aspects to basically all of those things, and it's going to be amazing storylines, obviously from the Chiefs side, a lot of them from the 49ers side. There's a lot for those guys to prove, from multitude of aspects, and certainly the same ways in which for our 2019 Super Bowl championship was, kind of ending that drought for them. They're on that same quest, and if they're able to complete that quest, it means something different. To be able to do that. Yeah, damn, DG. Okay, I see you shining, dog. I see it, man. Y'all
Hey
should have let
man,
me know we was.
listen.
Y'all should let me know we was putting chains on,
This
dog.
is that.
Big bling.
This
Stop
that.
playing, Chris.
This that hair store 14K gold right here.
This that gold shop you did, Chris. White gold you
I
did.
didn't. I ain't get the message, man. I got my gold
Hey,
over
we
in
in the
New York,
Super
man. I
Bowl,
should have put
dog.
it
You
on.
know,
You
You
did.
got that shining.
flashing lights. You know.
You did.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, like Joe Tooney, obviously, I agree with that because you're talking about multiple All Pros at a guard position. Yeah, and for now, to have won on the Patriots and now being as elite as he is now in the Chiefs, he certainly could be somebody there that is going to have that opportunity as well. Um, yeah, and shout out to Kyle. I was on Kingdom Sets earlier this week. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate y'all having me. But so legacy. Always a good conversation. Obviously, our overall storylines are important, but let's get down to the nitty gritty, specifically as it pertains to the Chiefs' pass defense specifically versus the Chiefs' pass defense versus Brock Purdy in this very varied um, offensive attack, especially from a weapon standpoint that the 49ers have. And I did want to give a shout out because I am an analytics guy. Sumer Sports does an amazing job with their breakdowns, and I think like I said, they've done an excellent job as far as being able to, kind of give us a full rundown of these things. So I'm just going to put it on the screen just so other people can see it as well, as far as kind of where, the 49ers are able to get the job done and where exactly the Chiefs defense stack up as well. They've been very good pretty much across the board. They generally have allowed a rush percentage from pressure and sack percentage that hasn't been great. That's indicative of some of the weaknesses that they have along the offensive line outside of Trent Williams. And from our perspective, rushing with 4, we've been pretty good. Rushing with 6, not necessarily as much, or with 5 from that standpoint. But Spags always has his special sim pressures that he brings to the table that really get after the quarterback, and that's why you see that number for 4 as far as pressure percentage and sack percentage being as high as it is because of the ability that Spags has to scheme guys up and get a lot of one-on-one in advantageous situations for Chris Jones as well. So when the Chiefs are defending the pass versus Brock Purdy, let's start there. What are you guys going to be looking for, CJ and DG? Go ahead, DG.
For me, like I said, it's been all week. It's just kind of been the mental chess match that I know Spags is kind of present to Purdy. Can you figure out those disguised coverages? Can you kind of tap into the diabolical mind of Steve Spagnuolo? Because we've seen in these playoffs, he's done some stuff that like we ain't see in the regular season. The rotating of safeties from going to cover 1 to cover 2 and things of that nature. So I know this is big game Spags. I know he's got a lot in his bag, and this is the time to unload the clip, and just kind of bring everything that you got in that playbook out. So I think the biggest thing is can Brock Purdy dissect? Can he be calm at points in times and just take what the defense gives him? Or is he gonna try to make plays and things of that nature? How will he be able to handle that stage? And I don't want anybody taking that as I don't think he's capable at all, because I think he's very capable or whatever. He's shown that this year, especially in the playoffs when they've had to come back from behind or whatever. So, but this is Super Bowl. This is it. This is the big one. Can he handle that mental chess match? That's what's going to be the most intriguing thing for me.
No,
CJ,
I completely agree. It's going to be a lot of. I think from the jump, you got to get guys uncomfortable early. We know Purdy's done a good job of trying to overcome the adversity they've had the last 2 weeks because they've been down 7 to who was it, Detroit? Then they're down 7 to Green Bay and 17 to Detroit. So obviously he's used to being from behind because he's had to come back 2 weeks. But I don't think if you're Kyle Shanahan, you want to get too comfortable and being in that mode. Just like we would say, we don't like playing from behind as well. But when you have an elite quarterback, it's a different conversation, knowing you can overcome the adversity. So going into this game, the biggest matchup for me, money in any defense, they know the money time is in the middle of the field. That's where you win most of your plays. That's where most of the big plays are won. That's where they're started. So if you can control the middle of the field, whether it be run game, big plays, and big extension and breaking of tackles, that's where most of the money down as far as third downs and short yardage in the middle of the field is won. So if we can get into that zone packages, like DG said, mix up Purdy and make him cause a mistake, I do feel we probably get an interception off him this week because I think he's been prone to that the last couple of weeks of kind of forcing some throws. But I think this is the week you kind of have to mix things up. Obviously, you can't really give him the same look every time because they have so many weapons from Ayuk to Debo to Kittle. And the main piece, the weapon that gives me the most pause for concern, obviously it's CMC, but for me it's Debo, just because they can line him up everywhere. They can put him in the slot outside. He's in motion. They can throw him a screen. We notice how their offense flows better when Debo's touching the football. So I think if there's a way, obviously, I saw the way that Detroit played them. They kind of took away Kittle and Ayuk. Those guys really didn't have big games, and they let Debo get a lot of catches, but he didn't really have too much run after catch in that aspect. He really didn't score last week either. So it was more so a lot of let CMC do his thing, not give up the big play. Outside of that mishap, that doink pass that went to Ayuk and it kind of bounced off the defender's head, they picked that off or that's incomplete. That's a different ball game. That play was also kind of low-key the turning point of what happened. So outside of the turnovers. But coming into this game, you have to get Brock Purdy rattled early because we know he's used to, obviously, like they don't like to throw. It's kind of like the same stat last week we did with Lamar. He doesn't like to throw the ball over 30 times. Most of his game stats, if you look at the numbers, they're all like under 30, 27, 28, 29 attempts. So if you can get him highly over 30, we have a good opportunity to beat him. So get him passing early, not get him like, obviously they're going to feed McCaffrey. I expect if I was the Niners, I would give McCaffrey the ball 20 times. Now the game plan is, all right, coming into this, how well do you actually run the football? Can you actually run the ball well enough to where he can get those 15 to 20 touches as you would want him to do? If you're not running the football effectively, because like we've heard, fellas, our run defense isn't that good, but the last 2 weeks, what's happened? Teams haven't been able to run the football as much. And that kind of pressure bowls on you as well. On the opposite side, if you're scoring points, you can't really run the ball as much if you want to commit to it. And we know Kyle Shanahan has been known to kind of lean away from his run game and get a little pass happy when he gets down maybe 7, maybe 10 points, 2-possession game or give or so. So, yeah, coming into the game, I want to get pressure on Brock early, get him uncomfortable. And, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which guy Spags takes away. For me, I would try to be Debo. I think he's the one that gets a lot of explosive plays and around to catch. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. But you got to get pressure on Brock early. I know they're going to feed McCaffrey regardless. But if Brock doesn't get into a rhythm, we have a good chance to make him uncomfortable and force that one mistake. And if we get that mistake in the second half, Spags has been elite in the second half this year. I think we're having the best second half defense in football. So get pressure on him early, control the middle of the field. Those are my big keys.
Yeah, understandably so. As far as from a matchup perspective, I think that when they do go to man, I think that you start out with Jerry Seed on Brandon Ayuk. He's your best cover corner. Brandon Ayuk is the guy in man coverage that is the person that Brock Purdy looks to first and foremost. So I want to put Snead on him, give him that proper attention. Let's put best on best and try to take him out of the game. I feel confident in Trent McDuffie, Williams and Watson versus their secondary pass catchers as far as Debo, Jennings and those people are kind of alike, or, obviously Kittle and occasionally CMC out of the backfield as well. I think the sim pressure looks are going to be important for trying to keep Christian in the pass sets from those perspectives. Again, a big piece of the 49ers pass protection scheme is keeping that back end when they feel like they may be under some blitz looks. So that is a way in which you can try and keep him from getting an eligible look and make sure he's not getting out of pass patterns. And that's always going to be a win from the pass defensive perspective. And then Kittle, you just got to give that extra attention, because if it's not Ayuk, he's going to be looking to Kittle to be trying to move those chains. Kittle obviously is a guy that can create a lot of matchup nightmares, putting him on linebackers. And for as good as, Justin Reed has played, for as good as Drew Tranquill has played, it's not necessarily a matchup one-on-one that you want to live in on a consistent basis. But look, the drop back game for the 49ers has not been nearly as play action based as, Kyle Shanahan's, offenses have in the past. I look for them to try and get to those standpoints and the Chiefs to kind of respond. The least amount of coverage that the Chiefs kind of run is cover 3. That's the only one that really the 49ers passing game has not done well with. We'll see how much they sprinkle it in compared to the standard cover 2, cover 1 man coverages that you'll see a lot from Spags, and obviously with a lot of robber looks mixed in there as well. So I'll be fascinated to see what exactly Spags has up his sleeve there. And Brock Purdy is a guy here that has had a lot of negative plays in these playoffs, a lot of plays that the 49ers, or not the Lions and the Packers, were not able to take advantage of. Can the Chiefs secondary take advantage of those negative plays when they put the pressure on and be able to take the ball away? 1 to 2 interceptions in this game absolutely flips this game on its head. That's what you have to come away with when you're facing Brock Purdy, and take advantage and punish them in those things. I'm sure there'll be an offensive trick play in there. It's the Super Bowl. They got 2 weeks. Yeah, they'll have something there. Real quick, do you guys think Drew Gray as far as a bigger day on Sunday?
Willie Gay for me, mainly because he didn't play last week. So I know he's juiced up for this matchup. We all know he wanted to go. But I expect, obviously, when we get into our exotic blitz packages, especially with Charles Omenihu not being available to go this week, I expect to see a lot of Willie on the line of scrimmage. And we know Drew can handle the lot and the workload of being off ball, especially with being Leo being involved as well. I expect to see Willie a lot on the edges when we want to go 5-man down, 6-man down on line of scrimmage, when we're mixing up who's coming and who's dropping in a lot of our mixed blitz packages. I expect to see Willie involved a lot because his speed, we all know it's almost like we went from Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen to Brock Purdy. Athleticism has gone down. Well, it started off with Tua, then it went up with Lamar and Josh, then it's going back down to Brock. So not to say Brock's not an athlete, but playing those two quarterbacks the last 2 weeks, now you're going to Brock Purdy. It's a different conversation when you're blitzing him. He can still make plays with his legs, but any of our defenders know when you're blitzing a guy like this, you can get him on the ground. It'll be an easier matchup than trying to sack the 2 hardest quarterbacks to sack in football with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. So I expect Willie Gay to be involved a lot, especially in blitz packages for sure. And Smith's, like we just said, Brock's known to try to throw a ball and sail a ball for an interception or 2. I expect to see Willie Gay involved heavy for sure. Use that speed.
Yeah, his athleticism is going to be important. I think it was kind of an element we kind of missed last week. Luckily, I guess you could say 2 weeks ago. I guess you could. His athleticism is something we definitely going to need, especially against when the Niners have a weapon like Deebo Samuel that they can run out the backfield or on jet sweeps or sideline to sideline. Like, it just gives you more speed to get sideline to sideline and to kind of stop some of those east-west runs, those zone runs that we're so terrible at. So having Willie back this week will really help out with that and give us a good added boost. And yes, this is his last game as a Chief. So
go out on top.
Absolutely. And yes, I do hope that Nick does have that cast off, because if he can come away
do
with
like a little mini cast, like the one that just covers your thumb, like this part.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what he had on. He already had like the full wrist. And that's kind of what
cover like his palm.
Hey, body and look, body catch it, Nick. Body.
First he had the full cast, then he had the one that was over his palm.
How you gonna try to catch
just like
it?
Keep his if he can have his palm open, he can catch it. His cast is on his palm, so it's like slit. So you can't really like trying to catch it like this.
High hands. Trying to catch the ball with his hand.
He was trying. Hey man, his palm is like a cast. What are you supposed
That's what I'm saying. Why did he catch the ball?
You want him to go like this?
Yeah. At least try.
Catch it with your hands, coach. I don't got no hand. No, hopefully if we can get one of the cast and just cover your thumb, it's almost like a wrist type.
That boy was out there like,
if his palm is open, he'll be okay. He can catch.
Well, you don't have trying to catch it like it was a dig route or something.
Hey man, the middle of the field is where Brock throws his interceptions. We saw the safety for Green Bay had a play on one. They dropped another one. The safety in the Detroit game should have had one as well. So the middle of the field is where the opportunities will be. So that's why we'll have some props later that I'll get into. But I think that's where, if we had to pick a area where the pick will be thrown, that's why I think Nick Bolton and Willie Gay could have a day for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So shifting gears, and as I always say, when it comes to stopping the run, you have to earn the right to rush the passer, and that applies heavily in this game specifically. The 49ers are an excellent run team, and they've shown the ability to play very well from a ranking standpoint, even against heavier boxes as well. So look, the reality of the situation is, whether it's light boxes or heavier boxes, you're going to have to find a way to stop the run. I expect that they're going to stick to the heavy boxes. That's where we've had more success. stopping the run. And certainly as we've gotten our linebackers back healthy now, Nick and Drew on a consistent basis in the playoffs, that's where we found a lot of success, being able to present odd fronts and changing up the gap looks. And making sure that we are more sound in the run game with guys giving better effort as well, I think. So from this perspective, I mean, look, this is an area in which you have to try and put them into adverse situations as far as down and distance is concerned. This is a place in which Kyle Shanahan is going to look to attack. I think it won't be as much on the edges. I think they're going to try and move guys up front. Can the interior of this defensive line and the second level be physical enough, which we saw versus the Ravens at times? But maybe, not enough for other people's liking as far as the frequency is concerned. They were able to take advantage occasionally, but I think we did a fairly good job by holding up. You're going to have a bigger challenge here to get yourself into some good third and down looks as far as distances are for the defense to get off the field. So what are you guys looking for when the 49ers are running the ball, specifically against this Chiefs defense?
A lot of zone action. Obviously, they're going to try to use Christian McCaffrey's speed. From a dynamic standpoint, who do y'all fear more with the ball in their hand, Lamar Jackson or Christian McCaffrey?
Lamar Jackson, because he can throw the ball too.
Yeah. Well,
I was just thinking like. Like purely running. Like
Christian's a better. Yeah, Christian's a better runner. But I mean, Lamar Jackson is also an excellent runner. So it's like
exactly. So I think,
and it's even tougher. Yeah, I mean, it's. No, I was gonna say it's even tougher. Christian's harder to tackle, just because for all the moves he kind of has, but
stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
In general, when you're talking about the run game, Lamar automatically is giving you a numbers advantage as far as
that's what I was going to mention. Yeah, exactly.
So that's the biggest thing. But keep on going.
No, that was my point. Like when you have a quarterback involved in the run game the last 2 weeks, we've seen Josh Allen and Lamar. It's 11 on 11 football, like we said in our last two shows. It's harder to kind of get to the quarterback because he automatically has an advantage with an extra blocker. Now it's not easier per se, but it's a different type of matchup because now it's truly 5-on-5, hat on a hat, 6-on-6, however many you have blocking, and let's see, can we get back one in backfield and make Christian miss and to make him have to dodge a tackle, then maybe rally and get him on the backfield because he is hard to get on the ground. He's one of the best, if not the best, pure runner of the football in the National Football League. But this is a different matchup compared to having involvement of the quarterback in the run game. And I know personally from watching guys play, they hate involving running quarterbacks because you have an extra blocker. So it's an advantage. Now you can get back to playing true football. He hands it off. Make sure somebody on backside is watching for any nakeds or boots. Make sure your front guys have to stand in their gap. Somebody flies in, try to make a play, and let's try to get CMC on the ground. But I think they're going to give him plenty of touches. I think he gets north of 18 touches if they truly want to win the game. If we get a lead, maybe they may lean away from it. But outside runs, I think is where they're going to get their money at. I think they trust Trent Williams. He's obviously their best run blocker. So I expect them to run to that side a lot. So from our standpoint, I would like to see George Karlaftis on that side. And if we had to rotate on backside as far as like Mike Dana, Felix, Malik Herring, if he's active, those would be the guys on that side. But I would like to see George, obviously on pass rush downs, maybe we'll invert it, maybe put some Peterman on the right tackle, so on pass rush down. But on running downs, first and second down early, I expect them to get a lot of outside because their best run blocker is Trent Williams naturally. Their right guard is their other best lineman as well. But I expect them to get on the outside a lot because I think that's where most of their successful plays are, especially with Christian McCaffrey's his explosiveness, his eyes, he knows how to read the holes. Their zone run game is where they get their big plays off of. So that's what I expect them to do.
Yeah.
What about you, DG?
She just said it all, man. As far as what I expect to see from them, what I expect to see from us is a mindset, especially to stop it early and often. I know that's if Kyle decides to stick with the run, which we know that he's at times veered away from it. But if he decides to, I expect Spags and them to have a plan to really stop CMC and slow him down. Obviously, we know dude's one of the best running backs in the league, or it's arguably the best. I mean, if you want to argue with other people, I think he is.
He probably will get Offensive Player of the Year. So.
Yeah, so he's a special talent, man. So it's hard to just say go out there and stop, the best running back in the league or whatever. But I know this defense. I know the mindset that they have. I know what they've been hearing. I know they hear the whispering and talking that they can't stop the run and this and that. And I think that Sunday they're going to be out to prove that, you're not going to have that. It's not going to be that easy. So I would feel like as long as they do that, And then, like I said, try to stop it. They can get Brock into some situations where he has to make the plays, and then I think that kind of plays into our favor. So
Yeah, I think that's certainly fair. And look, the one thing I've certainly talked about a lot is that it's a lot different dealing with what Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson can present in the run game, the advantages they give, versus what Kyle Shanahan presents in his creative run attack. That even with those two back sets,
Sorry,
him and
Kyle.
Juszczyk,
Sorry, Kyle.
the two back sets that Shanahan really can present, it makes it very difficult from a personal standpoint, because even though they don't use a lot of play action, they do a very good job at mirroring both the pass and the run game and making it look a lot alike, and being able, because of those two guys being as versatile as they are, Christian McCaffrey and Juszczyk, being able to use those guys in creative formations and motion before the snap as well. So to me, this is about how much do you want it as far as it's concerned. This 49ers offensive line is good in run blocking. I do not think that they're dominant. I think that there are opportunities for this defensive line to show up very well. I think there are opportunities for this linebacker crew to show up very well. If they're physical at the point of the attack, then I think they can survive the run game. There are going to be some very good games that the 49ers are going to get. They're going to be able to have a solid day as far as the ground game is concerned. We have to make sure we limit our explosives. I feel good about that because of how physical our secondary is, but we have to be sure, as far as that front seven is concerned, being disciplined, attacking those gaps, getting those guys on the ground. The fact that we've had as little missed tackles as we have has certainly showed up pretty well as far as that's concerned. We'll start out here. X factor on defense for the Chiefs, man. Who has to have a good game, or we'll finish up here. Who has to have a good game for this defense to give you a good showing?
Who has to have a good game? I would say, give me Nick Bolton. I think obviously he's the guy that leads this thing, but I think setting the tone. Obviously, he really didn't have like a big splash play last week per se. Obviously, he almost had his hands on a pick, but obviously, when we forced a turnover last year versus the Eagles, that kind of changed the momentum of the game. So I think this year, obviously, they're going to try to. This is going to be a more like, and, as from a defensive player standpoint, when you're trying to line up in gaps and make sure everybody's set and ready to go. Like we said in that last point, the quarterback being involved, it messes everything up because now everyone's covered up via a blocker, so you don't know which way the quarterback has a two-way go. Now we know Brock Purdy's not going to have any zone read actions in the run game. If he's handing it off, it's purely a handoff or play action. And to D-Mac's point, they haven't done too much play action this year, more than they often. They've done a lot strictly just straight drop back. So when you're playing this game, obviously, if you can shoot a gap, if you know they're handing it off and their inside guards and centers haven't been the best this year, I think Nick Bolton could change this game for sure. So if he can shoot a gap, get a couple TFLs, if knock on wood, if he gets another fumble, maybe like he can get that big play and not put up his resume like D-Mac said earlier to help him get like that Hall of Fame legacy type status play and maybe get a scuba score. Something as a turning point to change this game, because I think we will get a turnover at some point. That could be the big point for us to get that momentum in the game. But yeah, I think Nick Bolton is the one for me, mainly because he can get some type of turnover, because the ball is going to be in his way a lot, whether it be running the ball in zone, coming back to him, the ball down the middle of the field. He's going to have a chance to get a chance on an interception. He has to have one game-changing play, whether it be in the backfield or via the passing game. So Nick Bolton be the one for me.
Yeah, I think for me it's going to be Justin Reed, especially with the way he's been playing in these playoffs. I think that this is a time when they're really going to need his physicality. That, like I said in the previous statement that I made, but that mindset of physicality or whatever, bringing that to this team or whatever. And I feel like that, especially down this stretch, Justin Reed has played his most intelligent ball.
That's a fact.
You don't see a lot of mistakes or him being out of place or anything like that. I think Spags has given him a good role as far as being able to come down in the box and do what he's actually
2 weeks ago, bro.
Yeah, really good at. And I think last week he was phenomenal, man. Especially in some of the plays. He made some huge plays for us, blitzing and then also in the run game as well. I can vividly remember a play where he came up and stuffed Gus Edwards at the line and for a no gain or whatever. So if he can bring that same physicality to this game, I think it bodes well for our defense, and they end up playing really well as a unit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's certainly fair. John asked, if they get up early, do you see San Francisco getting away from it similar to where the Ravens did? I don't think they do. I don't think 14-7 or 17-7 would be enough to discourage them. They're going to stick to their normal game plan at that point. Obviously, if you get them down 2 touchdowns, then that's when you get into the territory of needing to press a little bit more as well. But if the margins are similar to what it was in the Ravens game, which I generally do expect it to be, I don't think there's going to be a blowout. Then they're going to continue to run the ball as they should. They can still have success in those circumstances.
I guess, is he speaking in a sense of like how the Ravens panic? The Ravens panic. That's what happened with last week. I agree with D-Mac. I don't think the Niners.
Kyle's been known to do that at times, but I don't think he does it this week.
Yeah.
He should run the football heavy, mainly because he has, like we said, the best running back in football. So a 1-possession lead, 2-possession lead shouldn't veer you away from the run game. But I don't put nothing past Mr. Shanahan. Sorry, Kyle. I don't put nothing past him at all. So I expect them to still run the football, regardless if they're down 7 or 10. But it is Shanahan, and he is who he is. I've heard a lot of Niners fans that we know personally have complained about him not committing to a run game, especially in big games. So he's done it before, so he should commit to the run game. That's what I expect him to do. But I don't put nothing past Mr. Shanahan because that's who he is.
I'll say this: my X factor personally, because I have complete confidence in the. No, I don't think they are. I don't think the 49ers
is crazy.
I think we'll get into their defense in a second here, but no, I don't think they are. They can't change the picture like the Ravens and the Chiefs did. I don't think that they have the back 7 athleticism either. Anyway, my X factor, because I do have full confidence in the secondary and what they've been able to show on tape on a consistent basis, how they play together, how they're able to be versatile and physical in the run game as well. I think all the linebackers are going to show up and play their game. I need them to bring that level of physicality that we've seen. The fact that Willie Gay is going to be back, we're getting full Drew Tranquil, we're getting full Nick Bolton, and obviously Leo Chanel. Spags is going to have all of his, tricks up his sleeve as far as the linebacker is concerned. It's George Karlaftis to me. With Charles Omenihu going down, not being available in this game, the ways in which they're always able to slide the protection to Chris Jones and all of the some pressure looks that Spags can create, that's going to mean there's going to be some opportunities for George Karlaftis to get advantageous one-on-one matchups if he can be, have the 5 snaps where he has quick wins like he did versus the Ravens. Then you're talking about a lot of pressure being put on Brock Purdy and forcing him into those mistakes that can change the game. So George Karlaftis can have a handful of snaps in which he wins one-on-one quickly from pass rush standpoint that he single-handedly creates a huge turnover in which this game flips on his head. So that for me is the X factor as far as George Karlaftis is concerned. Anything else as far as the Chiefs defense going up against this 49ers offense you guys want to get to?
Given the fact the last time we saw these guys, our defense was decent. We were like top 15, top 18 as far as like yards per game and total defense. Coming into this matchup, we have the corners, the best cornerback combo in the league. I think most of us would agree with that. I can feel very more confident going into this matchup as far as like blitz packages, covering Kittle, covering Debo. We can be, like we said all year, we can be much more exotic and more aggressive up front. And given the fact that Spags has all his disposal for his linebackers, like D-Mac just stated, I think we could see a lot more aggressive Spags early on, mainly because of the fact that, A, we have everybody available. B, we've seen this offense before. Like, we're pretty recently, like, developed with them. We saw them last year, even though Christian McCaffrey, that was his first game active after the trade. And then we saw him in the Super Bowl like a couple years before that. So we're pretty familiar with this team. Obviously, we don't play them as frequently as we do like the Ravens, Bills, and Bengals and those teams of that sort. But we've played them recently enough to know what they do and what they don't like to do. And, Shanahan's going to involve some tricks up his sleeve and newer plays and things we haven't seen. But from a general standpoint, I think this defense is more equipped to go against this offense now 10 times more than it was last year and more times than it was 4 years ago. So much more confident and much more execution-wise should be more confident going to this game, given what we've seen them over the last couple of years for sure.
Yeah. I don't think that they'll put George Karlaftis one-on-one on Kittle Alton. They're going to be using Kittle to get out in these passes because they want to target him.
Don't be saying that, Kyle. We don't want that.
They're not going to be putting a backup tight end on like they did versus the Eagles. They ended up getting Brock Purdy hurt. Yeah, Felix, I do think that there's a chance for him to make an impact because his speed off the edge is real. Like I said, I saw better play from him versus the Chargers as well. I expect that there are going to be chances in which he's put out there to make an impact on pass snaps, and by all means, he can win one of those reps one-on-one, or he could just run around the arc and make Trent Williams chase him, and that'll be fun for Trent Williams to have to deal with as well. So flip it over to the other side of the ball as far as the Chiefs pass offense versus the 49ers pass defense. 49ers defense has been good all year long. I would not necessarily categorize them as great, but they have been good. Obviously, this Chiefs passing attack has struggled in some respects, certainly throughout the regular season. They, from a pressure standpoint, they've been pretty solid across the board. I mean, versus 3-man pressures, it's kind of been but outside of that, versus 4, 5, and 6, they've been pretty good. And specifically in their ability kind of to take advantage as far as the blitz is concerned, Mahomes generally will be putting them in good situations. And you look at the 5 and 6 aspects. I mean, specifically the 5-man pass rush that normally is going to be man-to-man coverage on the back end. And that's where they had some early season struggles that, generally speaking, they've been able to turn around. The 49ers are not a team necessarily that wants to blitz a lot. You can see the 25th and 23rd as far as sending extra men. They're fourth as far as sending 4 guys. They like to line up with their 4 and get after it. This team has done very well from that standpoint. Obviously, without Joe Thuney, we assume it's going to be a little bit of a different task at hand. But I do feel like they're well equipped because Mahomes is going to be ready for that. I will say again, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but just be wary of what they're going to end up having to do later on as we get down the line as far as what those halftime adjustments are going to look like. But from the start, the core concepts of the short passing game, the quick screens, using Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce as the primary pass sets versus the heavy zone coverage of the 49ers defense. CJ and DG, what are you guys looking at as far as when the Chiefs are throwing the ball versus the 49ers pass defense?
Obviously, they're a heavy zone team. I think they run zone 67 or 70% of the time, so they're very comfortable in it. I don't think they have the whole bunch of the guys that they would want to blitz a lot and play as much man, because they have some guys like, I think his name is Avery Thomas, one of the guys that's one of their starting corners that struggled so much in the playoffs. I think we could take advantage of him as far as like some one-on-one matchups, maybe hit him with some double moves in those areas. Their linebacking core is great. I love what Greenlaw and Fred Warner out there bring, because out there they've been in this moment, they've been in these games, they know how to cover guys, they can blitz. They're very good tacklers. They've been in open space before. So they're not really worried about being caught up as far as like motions and things of that sort. But I think one thing we could take advantage of is their safeties. Hufunga being out for them this year is probably one of their biggest losses. Obviously, they've tried to bring in some other guys and some veterans like Gibson and other guys to step up. But obviously, it's a big loss when you lose an all-pro safety. I think any team would know that, more so than us, because we lost one of our guys in some of our runs before. So I think in the middle of the field, we love to flood zones. Obviously, they like to play zones a lot, like to D-Mac's point. We've done a great job over the last 2 weeks. Two things that I've been is the most proud of is Andy kind of simplifying the reads for Pat. It's always like a high, low, middle read. So it's like high, you read middle, you read low, kind of forcing whoever that middle defender is, whether it be that slot defender, corner, or linebacker that's dropping into the flat. He has to make a decision whether he's going to come for the flat route runner, usually a running back or a tight end, or is he going to drop off to that middle defender. And most of the time, the teams kind of make you decide between those two. But then obviously at the end of the game, when you start getting your man coverages like we did versus the Ravens, we got a cover zero look, which was an exotic zero because they didn't really blitz extra 6 or 7 men. They kind of just put it in a zero look, but they kind of just mirror Pat in the middle of the field. So I think early on they'll play a lot of zone. We'll kind of flood those zones like we've been doing with high, low, middle reads. And then if we start making plays and guys start getting comfortable, hitting them with some run games, making those safeties come down, maybe hit some screens, I think in the second half they may adjust to man. Because if we start playing with the zones very well, like we've done all year, that's what I expect Steve Wilkes to do. But I don't think he'll come out and blitz and play man early. I don't think he wants to do that. I don't think he believes in his corner as much as he does. If he does do that, I'll be shocked. And if he does, I think we can beat him and probably get some guys open, because we love to do a lot of crossers and rub concepts like we did versus the Dolphins in our first playoff game. So I expect him to play heavy zone, like D-Mac said, and to start off with that. And the biggest thing, like for us, is like same thing with the Niners. You got to run the football to establish. You don't want to go out there and be too pass happy. Obviously, we know Pat doesn't care about the weather. He can spend it in anything. So weather shouldn't be involvement being indoors, obviously, in this game. But I expect both teams to just don't try to get away from your identity. Don't get cute just because you're indoors now. Still run the football. Don't get away from your identity. But I expect us to go in there and try to beat these zones that they're going to give us and keep finding ways to sit in holes, keep finding ways to get guys open and just do what you've been doing so far.
Go ahead, DG.
Yeah, I would say a couple of years ago, I probably would have been a little bit more worried about this situation, just because knowing what the Niners love in the run zone and stuff of that matter. Um, I think now you got the equalizer, man. Patrick Mahomes is gotten to the point in his maturation process that I think he can pick almost any zone you're going to throw at him apart. I think he's been doing it at very, very high clip. Knowing what coverages is coming, knowing how teams disguise. I don't think people give Pat enough credit for that, especially the adjustments that he's able to make at the line and what he sees out there. So I think in this matchup, you have the equalizer in your favor. But I also think, like CJ said, I don't expect them to run a ton of a man. If they do, good luck.
It's gonna be a long day.
Yeah. But I hopefully what I expect to see is this passing offense stay on schedule, stay on script, try to stay out of third and longs and second and longs and things of that nature where that front four could kind of get going. I think if you stay in manageable downs, you can kind of neutralize what that front four really can do, and stay ahead of the chain. So hopefully they do that, and I think that'll lead to them playing very well against Steve Wilkes. So
Yeah, certainly understand your sentiments as far as that's concerned. The two things that I do want to point out from a numbers perspective and how they kind of relate to what you're going to see on Sunday as far as these things are concerned. Wrong one, my bad. This other one is one that I wanted to pull up actually. What you've seen, you talk about specifically their zone heavy usage. Obviously, Jesus Christ, that's the wrong one too. My bad.
Oh,
Hold on. I'm gonna pull it up. Don't worry. We're gonna get it. There it is. That's the one I wanted to pull up. The coverage performance. So the way you look at it from a defensive perspective, frequency here, a lot of cover two, a lot of quarters. From the San Francisco again, those two high shells, wanting to stick in there, limit those explosive plays. They've been pretty solid as far as playing cover two. I'm working on it. Don't worry. As far as
we
the
need better
offensive response, yeah, I know, really.
Put it in the budget.
From the Chiefs, they've been able to handle those cover two shells and quarters coverages as well pretty solidly, and they've seen a lot of them this year as well. Generally speaking, a lot of teams do not like to give up explosive plays, and that's the way that they're always going to play Patrick Mahomes as well.
Bingo.
However, we have been able to take advantage of them because our short passing game has been so good, and because Kelsey and Rice really do like to eat versus those kind of shell kind of coverages as well. And then you look at it specifically from a kind of passing game standpoint. The 49ers specifically on the right side have had a lot of struggles as far as deep passing is concerned, and this is where it kind of gets into those halftime adjustments. The Chiefs have been pretty good, fairly all right in the middle of the field and also to the right side as well. If you're going to be able to mirror your run game to what you can do from a play action standpoint, getting Mahomes out to his right, certainly that plays into a little bit more athleticism for Jawan Taylor and a little bit more of the road grading that Donovan Smith provides. There's understandable matchups from that standpoint of being able to marry your passing game to your play action kind of run aspects as well. And that could take advantage of some deep shots to the 49ers right side of their defense. And when you talk about specifically those 3-level reads, that we've seen a lot of concepts specifically for Kelsey on those kind of sail routes in which he has the feel of, do I go all the way to the corner? Am I stopping a little bit short in a hole based on where the coverage is? He has a really good conversation with, or I should say connection with him and Mahomes of where exactly to settle in those zones. And him and Rice do that very well. And MVS running a lot of those corner routes, or Justin Watson, who we see make a lot of those sideline catches as well, deeper down the field. Those things all work in concert, and you're going to have to see a bunch of those level concepts to take advantage of the zone, stretching them out in multiple different ways. I think the biggest thing that I've seen is the patience from Mahomes to make sure that he takes care of the football on a consistent basis, avoids the negative plays, whether it's sacks, obviously not putting the ball in harm's way. I think there are going to be chances in which he does have to take some of those to create some great plays, but he's also been very judicious in the ways in which he chooses to do so and still is able to create those big explosive plays. Anything else from you guys? Yeah, I mean they basically do, as far as I'm concerned, at least. Anything else as far as the Chiefs passing attack you guys want to mention really quickly? I mean, the one thing I'll ask here, actually, I'll ask a more specific question. Who do you think is the secondary target that needs to step up outside of Kelsey and Rice? Is it Watson? Is it MBS? Is it Noah Gray? Who do you think needs to step up and have a good game for these guys? To me, I think it's going to end up being Justin Watson. I think that he's a guy that runs those corner routes. We haven't seen a lot of it, but they're going to clamp down. They're going to get more aggressive. I think Watson is a guy that they've trusted to make a few plays here and there. I think he's going to be a guy that can kind of show up. So what do you guys think, CJ and DG? Who do you think that secondary target can be?
Any of those three would be available. We know all those guys only get, we know there are 1 to 2 targets a game for those guys. So whatever opportunity they get, if I had to pick somebody, it'd probably be MVS. Obviously, he's played big in these moments. He has a connection with Pat, especially for him overcoming all the adversity. He's made big plays for us back-to-back weeks, made big plays for us last playoff run. With those three guys, D-Mac just named, they're only going to get 2, maybe 3 targets at most for the whole game. So you have to make them count. So those are kind of like, they're all kind of in the same boat. Whoever has the chance to make a deep play downfield, whether it be a third down, second down, whenever we don't take too many shots downfield, but whenever we do, it's probably going to be one of those 3 guys. So if I had to pick somebody right now, probably be MVS for sure.
DG, what about you?
Man, I'm gonna say
Gotta make it
that I think this is a game where Isaiah Pacheco could really try to do some things, especially in the short, especially with them having a run zone, the short passing game, or whatever. Some of those screens out of the backfield. I hopefully expect to see Andy and them try to get him going, or whatever. One of the reasons why I say that is because the last couple of weeks the Niners have struggled to tackle in space. You know, they've had a lot of missed tackles, especially out in space, and I think that Isaiah can be somebody if you get him going out on the perimeter or whatever, that they might end up, you know, struggling to tackle and bring down. We all know how tough it is to get 10 on the ground or whatever. So hopefully Andy and them get him going. But I also agree to your Justin Watson point. I think that he as well has to play a big factor in this game. You know, because you're probably going to get 1 or 2, maybe 3 looks. And, you know, if you're watching, you got to make them count, you know. So hopefully he's able to do that. And I think if he does, we're walking away with a Lombardi.
Absolutely agree with you. And I think that you make the important point there. You're only going to get a limited amount of looks. You have to take full advantage of all of those as well. And specifically, as you mentioned, Noah Gray here, we'll get into the Chiefs rushing attack versus San Francisco 49ers defense. There are a lot of opportunities to run the ball in San Francisco 49ers. They're not necessarily a good run defense. You know, they were in the 20s as far as EPA per rush allowed in the regular season. We saw the Packers have success with Aaron Jones. We saw the Lions have success with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, specifically because they're offensive line. Even without Joe Thuney, I think Nick Allegretti equipped himself pretty well versus what I do believe is a better defensive line for the Baltimore Ravens, even though the 49ers defensive line is very good. The scheme design is going to be the biggest key here. You cannot just outside zone them and expect to get the job done. You have to be very physical, very creative. You have to take advantage of how aggressive their edges are going to be. They like to get upfield, and that includes Nick Bosa. You have to have the misdirection involved to be able to keep them off balance, trap them, and use a lot of gap schemes as well, some counters to get into it. I think there are a lot of opportunities for this team to have, kind of success on the ground. And you look at it from a numbers perspective specifically. I mean, the Chiefs haven't necessarily run the ball against light boxes extremely well this year. All that said, they have, had better success as far as the actual postseason is concerned. They actually do pretty well against heavy boxes too. And that's important, A, for late in the game if you have a lead, but B, and more importantly, when they put extra guys in the box, you still don't have to get away from the run game. You can still run the ball. You can still present those looks, stick to a normal game plan, and still create those explosive plays down the field when they get more aggressive from their coverage scheme standpoint. So no abandoning the run game, Andy Reid. You can stick with in this game and get after this team on the ground. keep your offense on schedule and keep yourself into favorable down and distances. CJ and DG, as far as the run game from the Chiefs' perspective is concerned, anything that jumps out at you?
I was very surprised, like you said, to see how I figured like when the playoffs come, maybe teams will kind of tighten up on things they haven't been doing as well. But the last 2 weeks, the Niners' run defense hasn't really been good overall. They've been giving up a lot of big plays. To see, obviously, Aaron Jones have 100 yards. He got a lot of plays outside of the numbers, a lot of on the edge type plays. And then obviously we saw David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs get a lot of stuff going in between the tackles, especially in the first half. I think we have a great opportunity to establish our dominance. And getting if Jerry McKinnon is active, that'll be great to have his savviness, especially on third down and things of that sort. I don't expect him to get heavy touches, but just having him there to spell and give guys breaks will be huge, especially excuse me, in pass pro on third down. But as far as the run game, I expect Pacheco to keep doing what he's been doing. I think honestly, the way our O line is blocking right now, fellas, I think we can run almost anything we want to right now. Honestly, we want to run outside zone, we want to run inside, we want to do more gap, more power schemes. Trey has been a great pulling guard all year, all playoffs. So is Creed, obviously, as well. So I think we've done a great job of establishing our dominance in the run game. That's what I wanted to see us do early in this game, early and often to establish that. Because once we do that, Steve Wilks is kind of painted to a corner at that point. Do you want to roll that safety down and allocate more assets to the box? So I think we have a great chance to run the ball, really outside or inside tackle, to be honest, but definitely establish it up the middle. But that's where our bread and butter is: running behind Trey, running behind Creed, and Nick Allegretti this week. Those will be our big boys up front this week. So I think it's a big opportunity, given the fact they haven't played as well. And I think if we do that, that'll maybe get them out of that zone, maybe have them run more man because it's easier to read coverages that way as well. Maybe let the blitz more and allocate more assets to the front line. But I expect us to have a great game running up front for sure. It keeps doing what we've been doing.
Yeah, I think if we've been doing what we've been doing in these playoffs and staying consistent with our run game, it really forces them to have to do some things that they probably don't really want to do. Like CJ said, as far as getting some of those safeties to rotate down. I remember last year in our matchup when we went out there, I think week 7, even though it was D'Amico Ryans, who was obviously their defensive coordinator, but something that I remember from the quarterback series, Pat kept saying that if they're going to continue to bring their safeties down like that and drive their safeties down, especially on some routes and stuff or in the run game, then we can beat them over the top. And I know a lot of people remember that he was saying, I got tape, you know.
I got tape. Brother, I
So,
got tape. I got tape.
Hopefully, you know, we can kind of force Steve Wilks into some of those situations of where he has to kind of bring the extra guy down into the box and then, you know, try to beat them over the top with a Justin Watson or MVS or something like that. McCole, whoever, you know, can get over the top over them. And but it's, yeah, just got to stay consistent with it. You've been doing it all postseason, so don't veer away from it, Andy. You know, continue to keep doing what you're doing.
B10.
It's working.
Absolutely. And so, you know, it's not a difficult task, but it is a very unique challenge to be able to get after them. And I think it is going to stretch them because I do think that the 49ers offense is going to have a better day than necessarily, you know, the Ravens offense did in the ways in which they were able to get after us. And so that's going to force us to kind of, you know, put some extra, you know, points on the board. And I think that there are opportunities to do so. I think you can move the ball similar to the ways in which you did versus Buffalo on a consistent basis and also versus Miami. You just have to finish those drives when you get into the red zone as well. Anything from an X factor perspective that you guys say this guy needs to play well for this team to put up offensive production as far as Sunday is concerned?
I feel like, man, if MVS can, I feel like if he can have 1 or 2 big plays like he's had in these playoffs, I feel like that's been a big, huge X factor for us. So hopefully he can continue to consistently do that. Just need one or 2 big plays from you, big dog. That's it. You know, don't need you to go out there and be a hero or anything like that, or you know, have a 100-yard game or whatever. But when your number is called, make those plays for us. You know. And I think that he provides a huge X factor with him.
No, absolutely. It's kind of the same thing like we said the last couple of weeks. This offense runs through 10, 4, and 87. So those guys are going to get their touches. So the kind of the secondary guys that we've said, Noah, Justin, MBS, Clyde, they're going to get their opportunities. It won't be as much because we know they're kind of coming there just to spare, just give different looks. But whoever gets that shot down the field, and lately it's been MBS. And if it is this week, like D-Mac said, if it's Justin Watson, then so be it. But whichever one of those guys, we know we only get a couple of shots down the field for those deep plays we have. So whichever guy gets the opportunity, like DG said, make a play on the ball. So if it's J Watt or if it's MVS, just make a play, because when you have to get that opportunity, you got to take advantage of it. So whoever gets the deep shot for me, that's the guy. That's the X factor for sure.
Yep, currently with it as well. And look, from an X factor perspective, I'll go in the trenches. I do believe that Jawan Taylor has played very well these last few games, so I expect him to continue to play very well. In my personal opinion, I think that if you're going to get out of here with a win and a good offensive day, Donovan Smith has got to show up and play very well from a run game perspective, because that's a huge aspect of this as well.
Oh yeah, condolences to Jawan Taylor and his family. I know he lost his grandmother, so pray.
Absolutely. I thank you for being able to mention that, because the unfortunate situation. I know he
that happened this week too, right? A couple days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, he specified that it was his grandmother, unfortunately, that did pass away. Unfortunate. He's going to be playing with a heavy heart, but man, he's played very well this postseason. I certainly want to hope that he continues to play at that high level as well. So let's get into making y'all some money. Super Bowl best bets.
Yeah.
Super Bowl best bets.
We've got to turn y'all volume up if y'all want to.
Yes, we got a special parlay from CJ here coming in a second. I'm gonna give DJ DG, my bad, a few seconds to think about what his parlay is going to end up being. But I will share what I kind of like. Look, I'm no expert, but I win one of these every once in a while. But these three plays right here. Kyle Juszczyk over his receiving yards, Noah Gray over his 12.5, and then over Brock Purdy interceptions. These three things I think have a high chance of happening. Kyle Juszczyk and the ways in which they use two-back sets, he's going to be on the field a lot. They've used him for mismatches in the past. We saw certainly in the Super Bowl last time these two teams met, they were able to get a touchdown to him. I think him getting a 5-yard reception is certainly within the realm of possibility. Noah Gray is going to have his play drawn up for him in the first scripted drive and the first one out of halftime. I think that'll combine for 13 yards, and that'll hit as well. And I truly do believe that this secondary can take advantage of those, and back seven in general, of those mistakes that Brock Purdy has had throughout the playoffs. And I think they do come down there with an interception. DG, any parlays, best bets that stick out to you? It doesn't have to be a full parlay, but anything that sticks out to you.
The one play that I do like is the over on Isaiah Pacheco's yards receiving 16.5 on FanDuel. I think that like I said, if they can get Isaiah kind of going on some of those screens or whatever, I think that's easily be able to pick up for him, especially like I said, with the way that the Niners in these playoffs have kind of been tackling in space or whatever. And it's not against them. Not saying that they can't do it in this game or anything, but I think that that's something that they've kind of struggled with. So I like that play for him as well. The other one would probably be Travis Kelce, anytime touchdown. We all know Travis in these games steps up. Obviously, Pat is probably going to be looking for him, especially if they get close in the red zone. So I think you could also put that on your parlay. I got two miscellaneous ones that don't have anything to do with the game or whatever.
Yes. That's what the Super Bowl is about, man. Let's go.
The crazy.
I like the over on the national anthem. Mm-hmm. I know it's Reba McEntire, and I know people think, because she's a country singer, white or whatever, she'll rush through it. I think she's gonna try to sing her heart out.
What's the line? Like, how long does she have to sing? What's the line?
I think it's like a minute and some change or something like that.
Okay.
Or whatever. I think she might go over that.
Do some research.
Is she Is she a hold the note type of person? I
Yeah,
feel
like
like
that's
that's
what I'm
the
saying. Does she
biggest
like a
piece about
short,
it.
like a
Did
home
she?
I
Is
run
she
don't
note?
in?
know if she's a hold the note, but I kind of feel like she's a country singer, so I kind of feel like she'll take her time with it. And then she's never done this before, so she hasn't been outside in a while. So I think that this will, be her shining moment that she's wanna go and be up there for a little bit, give her
Mhm.
spot in the limelight. But another one that I like as well, Gatorade color. Obviously, I think it's gonna be orange. I think I seen
Ooh,
somewhere where like orange was plus 500 or something like
okay.
that. I think last year it was blue or
What was last
purple
year?
or something. I think it was
It was,
purple last
I think
I
it
think
was
it's
either blue or
purple
purple.
last year. I believe it
year.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
was.
either
Yeah.
blue or purple.
So orange this year is what I'm going with orange, man. I think it's orange. Hopefully it's on our side. They will be dumping the Gatorade or whatever. But those are pretty much my bets. For I don't really have too much for this game. I don't really like betting on the Chiefs, especially in these moments or whatever. Just kind of like to let the game be what it is. So yeah, over on the national anthem, take that and orange and Gatorade cover. Take that too.
Completely understand. CJ, walk us through your big game parlay, man.
All right, people, turn your mics on. This is the moment I know you've all been waiting for. I got it. This is a really good parlay, guys. I'm really confident in this one. Okay, we got a four-legger. That's very confident. I think it's a very good doable. First off, I kind of bumped up. Obviously, the line right now is Niners minus 2.5. So I took the Chiefs. I took an alternate line at Chiefs plus 3.5. I think that's favorable. So either way, whether the game ends on a field goal in our favor or in their favor, either way, you're covered. So that's my basis line of this bet. Isaiah Pacheco, 50 plus rushing yards. He's had 6 straight games of 75 plus or scrimmage yards. I think this is a safe bet. DG said he likes his rushing yards. The Niners have been giving up a lot of rushing yards over the last 2 weeks. David Montgomery ran for 93. Jahmyr Gibbs had 76, I believe. Then Aaron Jones had over 100. So they've been really getting gas in the run game the last 2 weeks. So I love that prop as well. Kelsey is Kelsey. He literally had 11 for 11 last week. I think he had 10 catches or 9 catches in the first half last week, fellas. So
Mhm.
obviously, in big moments, it's big time. Killer Trav going to get jiggy. So 5 catches is good money for him. And Patrick Mahomes indoors, the first indoor game he's had in a while. No weather, no like inclement things he has to worry about. Obviously, the secondary has been giving up a lot of big plays. So Pat for 225 passing yards is one of my favorite props for him as well. You combine these together, I got it on FanDuel at plus 194. Put a little 25 down, put you a little 40 down, get you a little 50 back, a little 40 back. You know what I'm saying? You pay for your food, your gas money, whatever it is this week. Maybe put you a little side bet. You know what I'm saying? My other bet that I love is some straight bets for anytime touchdowns. I love Christian McCaffrey. I love Travis Kelce and Isaiah Pacheco. You can bet those straight or parlay them together. I did them together and I did straight. I put them all three together on FanDuel. I think I got it at plus 400. So those are the three guys I expect to touch the ball the most, and especially when they get inside the red zone. If either team expects to win, those guys have to get their opportunity to score. So those would be my 3 favorite ATDs for sure. Oh yeah,
I
my
will
other
also.
favorite strip bet is Brock Purdy anytime interception. Lock that in. I love that, Brock.
I will also say the other one that I do love. They have specifically featured Rasheed Rice and some of these screens that had screens and had 2 of them unfortunately
Absolutely.
taken away that should have been touchdowns. So he is also a very good anytime touchdown bet as well. If I was going to be betting an alternate line for the Tennessee Chiefs, I would actually be taking them minus 2.5. I do obviously think the
Yeah,
Chiefs
D
win this
Mac.
game,
Yeah,
and I
D
do
Mac.
think that they win it by at least 3 points. So
Yeah, D Mac.
speaking of. Obviously, we're talking about actual predictions, man. Come to that time where we tell you what we think about our scores, and because it is Super Bowl, we will also give you our MVPs as well. CJ, you want to lead us off with your score? Who do you think is the MVP? Anything else you want to give us as far as prediction is concerned?
Winner, Kansas City Chiefs score. Been going back and forth with this whole week. I just indoors, the weather. I'm gonna go Chiefs 26, Niners 20. That's my final score. And my MVP is a spicy one. I went on FanDuel. I put $15 on Trav because it was like plus like I think like plus 1,000 for him to be the MVP. Obviously, I think it's going to be if he's getting off, then Pat's going to get MVP. That's why he's the favorite. Pat's actually plus money, which is shocking. I figured he'd be like minus. So obviously, my pick is Mahomes. Even though I would hope for selfish reasons that Kelsey would win, but if Pat has a good day, you get your third Super Bowl ring. I don't think there's no way 15 doesn't walk away with the MVP. So if I was you, I'd put money, heavy units on Patrick Mahomes MVP. And if you want to sprinkle a little bit on Kelsey, just in case the vote decide to do something crazy, those would be the two guys I would vote on for sure. So Patrick Mahomes for sure, but then Kelsey as a little small bet with a little small wager.
Yeah.
Go ahead, DG.
Last prediction of the year. Man, I'm taking us or whatever. 24 20. And I think MVP, I'm gonna go a different route, and I'll say MVP is Isaiah Pacheco. If I feel like if that's gonna be the score, I feel like that means he's gonna probably have a good game. If he scores twice and probably puts up 100 yards, I think that he's gonna win MVP at that point. But it wouldn't shock me if Pat won it again or whatever. Him obviously being plus money is crazy going into his Super Bowl or whatever. But, I'm with CJ as well. I would sprinkle a little something on Travis Kelce being MVP. I think he's got a shot at it. And if you want to get real wild, maybe go out there.
Like that score prediction.
Yeah, you want to get real wild. Maybe you go out there and you put some money on Chris Jones.
Never know.
He's going to have some very good matchups, and he certainly could make a few impact plays that definitely could get him that MVP as well.
Spags, we trust.
Absolutely, in Spags, we do trust. I will say, so the big one for me, score prediction wise, I go back and forth with this. I think that if you get 2 turnovers from Brock Purdy, I think that we're going to be able to play a pretty clean game from that aspect. And so then you're talking about kind of 31 type of 20 type of game. Ultimately, I think we'll safely land that Brock Purdy gives you 1. And if you play a good game, your plus as far as the turnover differential ends up being. I think score lands 27-23 Chiefs get out of there with the win and back-to-back Super Bowl championships. As far as Super Bowl MVP is concerned, I mean, I think that Mahomes is primed for a good game. I think that the ways in which they can get after this defense lend itself to him throwing the ball very well. I think he'll have another efficient day in which he's able to attack on a consistent basis. And I feel good about it from that perspective. The other side of it is that obviously quarterbacks and winning their third title, for some reason, that third MVP is kind of weirdly difficult for some guys to have. Brady didn't get it on his third try. So I don't know if that's something to be kept in mind as well. I was trying to find actually the odds as far as Super Bowl MVP are concerned, because I might look that up right now. The one that I would actually sprinkle a little bit on, because I think that it's a combination of that they're going to be targeted, and they have the name brand recognition. If Trent McDuffie makes a few plays in this game, then there's a chance. I mean, I think that there are chances in which he is going to get targeted. I think Brock Purdy is going to look off of some of those first reads later on in the game and put the ball in harm's way. I don't even know if they have odds necessarily for Trent McDuffie, but he would be somebody if you want to place an incredibly long bet on that he could come away with a few interceptions as well. So yeah. Ultimately speaking, Super Bowl MVP, I'll go with Patrick Mahomes because that's the easy answer. And that's a guy that I expect to show up, be Michael Jordan, and get himself back-to-back Super Bowl champions and get the job done. Anything else before we get out of here, man? I mean, look, this is it. We've gotten through the entirety of the season. This team had a bunch of up and downs. First year I've covered this team on the Tell the Truth podcast, man. I thank CJ and DG certainly for this ride. We certainly will be talking to y'all next week, regardless of the Super Bowl outcome. But I'm looking forward to it. Anything you guys want to end off with?
Man,
a hell of a season, fellas. Might as well end it on the right note, huh? We went through all the training camp. Rasheed Rice was out of shape because he threw up, and the offense couldn't figure it out. And we rotated 5 receivers, and Charles missed 6 games, and Chris was up in the stands with his agent sitting in like that, and Kadarius Toney can't catch, and all the crazy, bro. So many storylines through this season. This has definitely been the most emotional roller coaster we've been through in a very, very, very long time. So, to get to this moment, to be at a cumulative point at the top of the mountain, have another chance to add to this legacy, and obviously we're not done, like Pat has said after every game, and this is only obviously like in 2020 when he signed this contract. I always said if we could get to this point where we could get to our fourth Super Bowl, I didn't think it would be in 4 years when he signed that contract. So now we're already in that position. So it's very fast. I said like he has a conversation, has a debate to be in the conversation of being the greatest quarterback of all time. And when you're in these moments, I know Pat more than any so of us is pissed off more than anybody the way that game in Tampa Bay, Florida, finished the way, given the fact our injuries. And obviously we didn't make any excuses, but we know we were kind of handicapped that game. So given we have this moment right now, this opportunity to do what we can do, and we obviously have the defense to be in this moment, I don't think Pat leaves anything out on the field, man. I think he leaves it all out there. I think Andy entered the kitchen sink. I think Spags has been, we've all said it, the best assistant coach in football. Arguably, you could put him up for coach of the year the way he's been playing this year. Defense has been top notch, been the best defense in the league this whole playoffs, and they have a chance to go do something special. I think if they finish this run and they have another good game, they're number 4 right now in like points per game, right? For like all playoff defenses all time. So if they can go out there and handle, I think they're sitting at 13.7 points per game, which is crazy to think of because I knew the defense would be good, but they exceeded my expectations for what they've done this year. So if they can finish it off with another great season, stamp that moment, not only can we go have our 4th Super Bowl ring as an organization, we can go down as one of the best playoff defenses of all time. And saying defenses of all time and Chiefs in the same sentence, you usually don't hear those words synonymously too much. So we have a chance to make history, fellas. So why not go do it the right way, huh?
Yeah. I think my only final thing would be, week 15, one of them weeks, I don't know. What after the Buffalo game, pretty much. I came on this podcast and I told y'all I'm standing on my 10. I was still believing in this team. I still thought that they could get to the Super Bowl. Look where we are right now. So I'm gloating about myself because I didn't let none of the adversity knock me off my square.
What's the Drake meme? Look around you. I made this. Look around you.
Right.
Look where we at right now.
So all you haters, you naysayers,
Let a naysayer know.
Yeah.
Let a naysayer know, DG. Tell a naysayer what, DG.
I stood on my 10, man. I believed in this team. I still believe in this team. Win, lose, whatever happens, whatever the result on Sunday is, I'm gonna be proud of this team for what they were able to accomplish up until this point this year or whatever. Perseverance means a lot to me because I've had to persevere in my life a lot or whatever. So for them to be able to reiterate that lesson in my life again this year, it means a lot to me. So hopefully they go out there and finish the job on Sunday or whatever, and we have another parade down Grand Boulevard.
Yes, sir, Ski.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it. Everybody do enjoy the game. I will say this: it's a special moment to be in the Chiefs fandom. It's awesome for everything that we had to go through to get to this point. And every single story has to have a hero and a villain. And it seems as if the Chiefs have lived long enough to be the villain. This season has included so many storylines, so many points of discussion. It's going to end with the Chiefs being the one on top because that's just how these stories are written. This is the team of this era. This is a dynastic run, and this will be the win that solidifies that aspect of it. And I truly do believe that. And that's because this guy right here is the center of it. It's time for playoff Mahomes who do what playoff Mahomes always does, man.
Stun on these hoes.
Stun on these hoes, Pat. Stun on these hoes.
Yeah, be great, baby.
Do your thing on Sunday, 15, man. I can't wait to see it. Shout out to everybody that's going to be watching the game. Please do stay safe. Obviously, Super Bowl Sunday. Get back home from wherever you may be enjoying the game and get ready to celebrate on Wednesday, man. Appreciate you guys for coming along this ride. We will be talking to you next week. And just a preview, it only will be the beginning because then we're right into the offseason, getting things ready for draft season, free agency, and all the fun stuff with the offseason of the team building it, man. Appreciate y'all for coming by. Tell the truth, man. Get ready for the Super Bowl 58 for DT, man. For CJ, for DG, I'm D-Mac, man. Talk to y'all next week.
Finish the job.
Finish the job.